Greetings, Dennis Fair, retired member of the Metropolitan Police Department of Washington, D.C., serving 29 years of uninterrupted service, retiring in 2019, June the 8th to be exact. Anything that I say is particularly my opinion. As usual, you all know I'm not affiliated with the Metropolitan Police Department or any other law enforcement agency. To get right down to business, as you all know, the chief of the Metropolitan Police Department basically threw in the towel. Enough is enough. He left. Can't say that I didn't see that coming. I'm going to discuss that in its entirety. Based on what I read, according to him, it was starting to affect his family life. Now, from my understanding, from what I read out of the Washington Post, he has a fairly young child, maybe 2 children, but I know he has one of his children is very young. And I guess it's based on that, and maybe affiliated with his marriage, who knows? But it's no secret law enforcement is not a 9-to-5 job. When you're in administrative, and I'm not referring to the chief of police, that's on a whole nother level. When you're in administrative, you kind of can dodge actually policing, and a lot of people come straight out of the academy and go straight to administrative. You know, especially I don't have to tell you, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. A lot of females, depending who they are, let me try to make this a little. I'm going to try to make this a little acceptable, politically correct. Depending on who the females are, depending on what they look like, depending on who they are affiliated with, they don't go on the street. Sometimes they go straight to admin. And they stay in administrative positions for the duration of their career, depending on who they are. You know, I could go a little deeper, but you read between the lines in so many words of what I'm saying. And this goes all the way to high-ranking Metropolitan Police Department females. Now, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to sugarcoat it at all. You know what I'm saying. So you can read between the lines, but like I said, I try to make this a channel, you know, when I'm talking that you can watch with your kids, but I'm not going to say nothing really reckless. It's enough of that going on in today's lyrics. You won't hear me talking about popping pills or sipping on lean or none of that foolishness. When I came up, we looked at those as dope fiends, dope heads. You know, today's youth, a lot of them basically are dope fiends. But I'm gonna get into that on another video. But back to the chief. From what he said in writing, it was starting to affect his family life, and I believe he did. I think he came on as chief in 2021. We've probably got the same amount of time on, or I may have a little more than him, because he started as a cadet. However, administrative responsibilities and duties as a sergeant, lieutenant, captain is nothing like police. And being a chief of police is not actually policing, but the workload is equivalent to actually policing. Because when you are the chief of police, and I have worked downtown doing limited duty throughout my career, some brief periods of time when I was on limited duty, you know, due to an injury, a work injury, knee injury, things like that. But when you are on limited duty, you have to make these notifications down at the SOC, and that's basically down at police headquarters. No matter what time of night, day it is, if you have a homicide, you must contact either the chief of police or the assistant chief or whoever has that responsibility for the shift. Now, a lot of times I would have to call Chief Lanier or Diane Grooms, Assistant Chief Grooms. No matter what time you call them, 3 or 4 in the morning, a lot of times for some reason they sound like they just wide awake. I don't know if this is how they answer the phone, but that's a major responsibility. If you are obviously married, you have maybe young children, you got to have that phone on at all times, because whenever there's a homicide, especially something like a child or something like that, they're not going to really cut between the lines and go with the assistant chief or whoever the Nighthawk is for that particular shift. They need to talk specifically to the chief so they can brief the chief. And obviously, once the notification is made, you have to go into details as far as the age of the victim, where it took place, possibly how many times was the individual shot, what's the scene like, is it a chaotic scene, is the body still on the scene, where's the body been transported, was there any evidence. You got to really go into details. And imagine 3 o'clock in the morning, you're in dead sleep, and you're trying to take all this in. Now, you guys obviously get a pen and paper out and start writing this information down, because at some point you're going to have to conduct a press conference. Now, a lot of times with these press conferences, as you've seen, A lot of the individuals that are doing these press conferences, a lot of times it's not the chief, a lot of times it's not the assistant chief. You have district commanders and sometimes other individuals in capacity to make these particular press conferences. Some of them can't speak. Some of them are not really necessarily in a professional attire. I've seen some of the females, and I don't care who gets offended, some of the females doing some of these press conferences, don't get me wrong, in this level of management, they make a nice piece of money. Trust me, they do. I know exactly what they make. It is no reason not to have your hair taken care of and things like that before you go before the public. And if you are not comfortable speaking, you shouldn't be speaking. You know, a lot of times I ask questions, and the bottom line is it's really simple to do if you are used to speaking. I'm used to speaking because I've done so much testifying in court throughout my 29-year career. But a lot of these individuals that are in management in the police department have not made arrests. They have never testified. You have some individuals that have actually went through a whole career and never testified one time. I know that sounds unbelievable, but it is really a fact. Some individuals have never testified. And if you have never testified, you're not going to be comfortable speaking in a public capacity in front of people. And a lot of times they're going to ask you questions. Sometimes reporters will deliberately ask you questions that you can't answer. And instead of trying to wing it or guess it, you just say the textbook thing. Well, this is what I would say. Honestly, I could do it easily. I could easily do the PIO, Public Information Office. I could do it, but, you know, they'd rather have it passed around to a lot of individuals that don't know what to say, and a lot of times they say too much. And a lot of times, if you don't have anything to say or you can't really disclose certain things, you simply say, right now, at this time, there's currently an investigation. We're still at the early stages of this investigation, and it's a preliminary stage right now. That's all the information that I have. There will be more information forthcoming. See how easy that was? But a lot of times, you have these individuals that have never done it before. Some of them have never been to court before, so they don't have a clue as to what to say in a situation like that. And you got individuals that are asking questions, well, how many times was he shot? You know, a lot of times you can't disclose that. A lot of times, in some of these cases, the family has not even been notified yet. So you have to be very careful what you say and what you don't say. So it's, you know, it's an art to it, but a lot of times I look at some of them speaking at these press conferences, I just shake my head like, come on now. Hopefully this can hurry up and wrap up. You're an embarrassment to the department. However, back to the chief. He threw the towel in, and I can't say that I blame him, but on the same note, you knew what you signed up for. It's not a 9-to-5 job. I knew it was a 9-to-5 job when I signed up for it. Did it affect my life? Yes, it did. Lack of sleep, lack of being able to do what you want to, leave canceled, your days off canceled. Things like this happen. That's part of the game. You signed up for it. You knew what you signed up for. Chief of police is no cakewalk. You got a very young child. I know that it goes towards your retirement percentage. I get it. I understand why he took the position. But on the same note, is the city in better condition with Chief Conti, taking over, or is it in worse condition? I mean, you had Chief Newsham. It wasn't like it is today. And I'm not blaming Chief Conti because in reality, I don't know the specifics of whether or not he was able to actually do what he was supposed to do, or whether or not his hands were tied behind his back from the mayor. Now, I'm not saying he was a Chief Fullwood. Chief Fullwood and guys like that, some of the past chiefs were actually police types. They actually got out there and got their hands dirty. Chief Kathy Lanier, Chief Diane Grooms were well known in the 4th District area. They used to call them Cagney and Lacey or Blondie. They would actually lock you up in a heartbeat. They did not mind getting their hands dirty, and they would put you in cuffs with the quickness. I'm not sure about Chief Conti. I have never worked with him in that capacity. I didn't personally see him in court. I'm not saying that he wasn't in court. Honestly, I don't know. I'm just telling you I didn't see him, and I was in court on a regular basis. I knew who went to court and who didn't go to court. We had sections down at the cafeteria. You might have the 2nd District over here. You might have the 6th District over there, 3rd District over here, 4th District over here in the cafeteria down at the courthouse. These guys went to court every single day, and you saw the same people every day basically carrying the whole police department. Now, you got some people that basically just took reports, didn't want to go to work. They just wanted to come to work, do their 8 hours, and go home. Last thing they wanted to do was get tied up in court. Unfortunately, this is not the type of job where you're going to go home every morning at the same time. It just doesn't work like that. Not a 9-to-5 job. And if that's what you're thinking, sign up for the wrong cause. But he, from what I understand, has a very young child. I don't know if it was maybe affecting his marriage, or obviously it started to affect his home life. It's no cakewalk being a chief of police, and the stress that comes with it is unimaginable, especially if it's getting worse. I mean, I honestly, not knocking him, but I'm just going to keep it 100. I don't see any change. Actually, I saw things actually go downhill. Of course, he talked, just like a typical politician when they first come aboard. Hey, we're going to make you all these promises. We're going to hold babies. We're going to give candy to everybody. Kind of like that type of mentality. You making all these promises. City is in worse condition. Now, I'm not blaming it totally on him, but on the same note, they can't even get police officers to apply now with $25,000 a signing bonus. Back in the day, you would have had people lining up. Now, you have people applying, but you can't get people through the process because a lot of people have misdemeanors. A lot of people have felony convictions. A lot of people can't pass the polygraph test. A lot of people can't pass the credit rating. A lot of people obviously don't have the associate degree, which in my opinion, you don't need it because I didn't have it. You don't need an associate degree to be a police officer. In my opinion, and this is just my opinion, that's used to weed certain people out. And you can read between the lines on that. That's used, again, to weed some people out. You don't need an associate degree to be a police officer, because I've seen individuals on the police department with degrees in psychology, and some of the dumbest officers they are. We had one officer, and I think I might have talked on this in another video, a degree. He came aboard when the associate degree was mandatory. He had a degree in psychology. This individual put a heat seal sample of blood from a DUI case in the refrigerator. Not a regular refrigerator for evidence, a refrigerator in the station where they kept their food. He said, in his opinion, it really didn't make a big deal because it was heat sealed. Clown, it's a biohazard. Why would you put blood with food? A child could figure that out. Wait a minute, this doesn't go in here. This has like a biohazard label. Why would you put it in there with food? Well, he did it. So the whole thing about college educated or college graduates are in a better logical situation and are better candidates, that's BS. I've seen some of the worst. And a lot of times, some of them think they know it all and they're absolutely clueless. The same ones that think they know it all, you hear them screaming on the radio when it's a large fight. Now, mind you, they're not in the fight. It's a large fight, individuals drunk fighting each other, or maybe after a goal or less out, they fighting. They have never seen this before because a lot of these individuals are not from this area, so they haven't seen fights or large things, large chaotic situations like that happen. So they lose their mind. They're screaming on the radio. You can't tell where they are because they're screaming like basically children, that have seen a ghost or something scary. So you finally find them, you get down there, and it's just basically like a few people fight. Like, okay, you screaming on the radio for this. I thought somebody was killing you. Well, it was out of control before you got here. Sure it was. But it's a situation where he probably it started to take its toll. Could have started to take its toll on his marriage. You know what I'm saying? But this is what you sign up for. Now, of course, now it's a little more politically correct. Certain things they don't tell you in the academy. Certain things certain ways they can't talk to you. Certain way in the academy, which makes most of the officers soft. When they come on the street, a lot of times they're clueless and scary. A lot of times, now they won't tell you this, but when I was in the academy, they told us, hey, how many of you guys, everybody in the class that's married, raised their hand. At that time, I wasn't married. A lot of people raised their hand. Everybody looking around like, okay, where is this going? So, okay, all you guys that are raising hands marriage, a large majority of you are going to be divorced before the first year. So people looking like, damn, why you say that? Now, today, you can't say stuff like that because that's considered insensitive. But it was truth. A lot of times people are going to get divorced because you're not able to spend adequate time with your significant other. A lot of times people are frustrated. You're in court all day. You've worked all night, so you go home. You got to listen to some BS from your wife or husband or the kids. And sometimes you can't really process that. Some individuals just go home and try to police their family. So they try to talk to their family like they're talking to some suspects on the street. So that a lot of times goes downhill. It's just a lot of times one of the biggest problems is people bring the job home. And you got to leave the job at work. Once you walk out that door, that job stays there. But a lot of times that's easier said than done. But in my opinion, it was something, dealing with the Metropolitan Police Department that pushed Chief Conti in a different direction. I can't say that it was strictly working. That's not it, because obviously it was a situation where he wanted to spend more time with his family. He'd have been like, you know what? I'm not doing nothing else. I'm just going to go ahead and chill, spend time with this kid that's complaining that I'm never home. Last thing you're going to do is take another job if it's really about being with your family, right? He took a job with the FBI. And I'm sure that pays well. I'm sure it's not as stressful as being with the Metropolitan Police Department. But on the same note, if you really, and it's just me, it's just my opinion, if you really want to spend some time with your child, why you take another job? I mean, if that's really the issue, you having issues with your home life. Your child says you're never home, but you take another job with the FBI. We all know whatever that is, that's not going to necessarily be a 9-to-5 job. I mean, in that high capacity he is, because he's going to be some type of director or something. So if you have a major incident, guess what? You're not going home on time. I mean, personally, I think he just threw the towel in. The Metropolitan Police Department is in a very, very, very tragic situation right now. They don't have enough staff. They can't get members to come aboard, even with a $25,000 signing bonus, assistant with getting you a place to stay. What else? They're even paying for your to get the associate degree. They're offering so many incentives, and they still can't get people on board. And they're doing a lot of outside recruiting outside of the states, because most of the people they say are not eligible here, or just ones that are eligible have no desire to do it, which I get. Law enforcement is not really that occupation anymore. If someone thinks it doesn't look right, you might be unemployed real quick. You slam somebody down and it doesn't look right, regardless if they had a gun or not. Oh, well, you didn't have to slam him that hard. I know he had a gun, but maybe you could have just laid him down softly, which is a bunch of BS. But you know what I'm saying? It's a different time, and it's a different day. And don't get me wrong, you still got the individuals like Derek Chauvin, I may be pronouncing his name wrong, with the George Floyd situation. There are officers like that exist, and guess what? There are officers like that that's coming out the academy. They're growing like plants, because law enforcement is often portrayed as a sellout position, especially among people of color, other ethnicities. Oh man, you're gonna be a police, you're gonna be one of the feds. Yeah, I'm gonna be one, but no one's gonna tell you I'm the same officer that used to a lot of times pull cabs over, because the cabs down at Constitution Hall didn't want to stop for black people. They're not going to tell you about that. There's a lot of things I've done, and I'm not going to really get into that. But when you got a lot of officers that don't look like you, don't understand your neighborhoods, guess what? You can get some real harsh treatment, and they're going to treat you pretty much like dirt in a lot of cases. And that's what happens. These individuals that come on from out of state, don't understand your neighborhood, don't understand the way you live. You have to be versatile. A lot of these officers have no personality. They're like robots. They won't communicate with you. They can't have a conversation with you. They won't stop to play with a child. They won't stop to do any of that. And nowadays, with the element of law enforcement versus the community, a lot of them are scared to get out the cars because they don't want to deal with the liability. I saw some of the 2nd District officers downtown, and these guys, I don't know, they were very young, but they were telling me that one of their lieutenants told them, when they get a call for shoplifting, don't even get involved. Go to the scene, and the security guard assist them. But as far as making arrests and all that, they don't do that, which kind of, to me, that's kind of crazy, because a lot of these security guards in these stores are not SPOs. They're just security guards. They have no arrest power. So they basically, the top brass from the Metropolitan Police Department is basically telling them, don't do nothing. In subliminal messages. Don't do anything. Don't get yourself involved in anything. Because obviously, if you get yourself involved in something, guess who has the right? The officials, the sergeants, the lieutenants, the captain. So they basically telling you, do absolutely nothing. So you'll see a lot of officers on stationary details and things like that, because the day of policing is over, and you can see that. And with the lack of staffing, like I said before, the chief even threw the towel at and said, hey, look, enough is enough. I don't know who they want to get for a chief. I don't know. I really don't see anyone within the department that's really capable. They might go outside of the department. Who knows? Muriel Bowles, knowing kind of how she moves, I wouldn't be surprised if she brought a female chief in. Basically just seeing how she moves. Somebody she knows. You know how it goes in politics. Most of the times it's not somebody random. It's somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody. That's just a political hustle. But it's in a very, very, very turmoil state right now. They have no officers. The officers that left, they can never replace, because during COVID, they went like a whole year with no academy class. You can never catch up. It's just not going to happen. And it's showing. What you basically have now is what I call a rush the door type scenario. Now, obviously, if there's a concert and we got like 400 or 500 people outside, we really want to get in this concert. They're telling us right now the tickets are sold out. We can't get them. If all 400 of us decide to go in and rush that door, we're getting in. And that's basically what you have as far as a criminal aspect right now in D.C. You have so many crimes going on, so many shootings that outnumber the police officers. The calls for service are outnumbering the law enforcement staff that you have. I don't have to tell you, a little girl just recently got shot not too long ago in the head, and then during her funeral, the funeral director killed somebody at the funeral. I mean, that's not necessarily a situation that has something to do with staffing, but that just goes to show you how reckless people are. There's no more consequential thinking, and when I refer to that, I'm talking about, damn, if I do this, what are the consequences? People just act. I mean, if you didn't know any better, you would think that people were actually possessed. There's some type of microscopic organism in their brain. I know that sounds far-fetched, but for somebody to go out here and shoot somebody, like a gentleman shot a dude in the head on the Green Line not too long ago. Now, he was captured, but the pictures they put up were so clear. It looked like he posed for the pictures. You shoot somebody in the head on the Green Line like at 11 o'clock in the morning. How do you think you're going to get away? You don't have a mask on. They have the cameras, and that's something else I'm going to in some other videos. The technology that they have that most people don't know about is unreal. They can literally track your car all through the city. Now, it's not as simple as A and B. It takes a lot of legwork. It's time consuming, but the detectives often do it. They track you all over the city till you're going into an apartment or whatever, or to a house and what have you. It's just, sometimes I just wonder, like, I mean, are people really this dumb? You just took 3 seconds of work to give up 20 years of your life. You shot this guy in the head 9 times out of 10, you're going to do 20 years. Where's the investment? What kind of investment is that? You shoot somebody in the head and you're going to do 20 years. Now, I get it if it's a self-defense situation, somebody trying to kill your mother or somebody harming your child. I get that. But you shooting somebody over, a lot of times these are beefs. They're not drug beefs, because the drug are not pumping like in the 90s as far as the cracks there. Most of these youngers out here selling weed or fentanyl and all that. It's still some money out here, but a lot of times these killings are often not even drug related. They're beefs over neighborhoods. Somebody put up a video or something related to a girl. And I'm like, you want to put 19, 20 years of your life in the trash to pull a trigger on somebody? I'm just wondering, is it something in the weed? And I'm being honest with you, at this point, I don't even understand it. Is it something in the weed these young are smoking? Is it the pills they on? Is it something in the lean they sipping? Because see, they doing some stuff that in my day we wasn't doing all that. I mean, obviously the whole pill thing was mostly a suburban type thing. Out that wasn't our thing. Most times if you heard somebody was on pills, it's like, man, parents must be rich or something crazy going on. We wasn't thinking about no pills. Then maybe somebody might have a little weed or some beer, private stock. The old school stuff. Some OE 800, then y'all, some of my old heads know what I'm talking about. But to actually pop a pill, man, we look at you like you crazy trying to get somebody a pill. And you might catch a beat now for trying it. But now, these youngers rapping about X and Xanax and all types of stuff. They taking all types of pills. And it's just crazy. And you're going to pop a fentanyl not knowing if it's a legal dose. You're basically playing Russian roulette. You might as well get a 38 and spin the barrel and just keep pulling the trigger till it go off, because that's all you're doing. Eventually, you're going to get that fatal dose. So bad that they got Narcan in high schools now. Picture that. It's in high schools, most high schools, because they got a high number of overdoses. And not to mention the edibles. These youngins don't know nothing about edibles, and somebody might have an edible, so they eat the whole cookie. Next thing you know, they're on the floor crawling around, and they got to get an ambulance to come get them from school. That disrupts the school day. It's absolute madness. I mean, you can't even go to school without a shooting. And I just, like I said, the consequential thing. And I mean, it's almost like walking across the street and not looking both ways. I mean, where is the logic? Where's the the mentality that nobody's thinking anymore? Or is there something in the brain? Like, I'm telling you, I know it sounds crazy, a microscopic organism just making these individuals do some of the dumbest ish. Like I say, I ain't gonna do no curse because sometimes people want to watch this with their kids. You're gonna kill somebody over something stupid, and then you expect to get away, and you on camera. They done zoomed in on the tennis shoes. You got on phone posit Nikes. I mean, some of the camera footage from some of these suspects is so clear and crisp. It's like, this got to be one of the dumbest clowns out here. It's basically posed for the picture. And one of the individuals like the shot on the green line, once they put his picture, I already knew it would be a matter of time before he was captured. And he was captured. But a lot of times, you shoot this dude in the head. And a lot of times, if y'all only knew, speaking to some of the detectives, some of the reasons for these beefs will blow your mind. Or this neighborhood did a video. Or this neighborhood is supposed to be the op, the opponent, or whatever. And I'm like, okay, they the op, but none of y'all can produce a deed. Y'all living in these public houses or in these neighborhoods. Nobody got a deed or owns anything. So to me, it's just straight stupidity. But it's a combination of things, and I'm gonna get into that on another video as far as the choices these youngers making, or more or less the choices they not making. Responsibility is out the window. A lot of times these youngers that commit these murders, they got multiple kids. There's no guidance, no structure, and guess what? These kids basically take over what the parents were doing and go back right into the system of slavery, because that's all it is. It's legalized slavery, and it's big profit, big profit. So I can understand, like I said before, the chief jumping ship. The state of the Metropolitan Police Department right now, it's like a snake with his head cut off. It's all over the place. There is no real leadership. There is no morale with the Metropolitan Police Department. Most of the guys I talk to are counting down till the day when it's like, look, man, I'm ready to get out of here. Enough of this is enough. The leave book is often restricted, so you can't take off during the summer months. They're like a few steps from starting or stating a crime emergency. When they use that means you can't take off. A lot of times it's mandatory overtime. And it's often mandatory overtime right now because they don't have staff. And so you might be set to get off. You might work day work, but you might be set to get off. Depending on how short it is, guess what? You got to do another 4 hours. Now, mind you, these are 10-hour shifts. They're not 8-hour shifts. They're 10-hour shifts with 3 days off. But what good is that if a lot of times you're held over because the other shift didn't come in, or it is short? The leave book is marked up. You can't take off when you want to because there's so many people on the leave book. It's full. You can't take off. You might have a vacation schedule. If you don't have committed leave at any given time, they can just basically say, look, got to take you off the book. We got to protest, So you got to try to figure out how you're going to rearrange that trip that you paid for. I get it. And like I said, that's why part of me understands the chief throwing the towel in. But on the same note, when they asked me that I want to take the position as a senior police officer, in 2019, I declined it. Now, of course, most people thought I was crazy. Like, man, you're gonna leave $70,000 on the table when you could just do the same thing and collect your pension too? It's gonna put you over $100,000 a year. Yeah, I declined it because I saw this coming. What's the point of being in that position if you obviously put in enough time to walk away with all your health and all that? Why push your luck? If you haven't made the money within 29 years, and the Metropolitan Police Department is giving out money, they're still giving it out. If you haven't made the money in 29 years, you are a failure because there was a lot of money to be made, and I made my share. So I declined the senior police officer position. Would I take it? No. The only thing I would possibly give in consideration as a civilian, to maybe do something like that in an academy status or something, but they don't want people that really know what they're talking about at the academy. They don't want people that's going to tell them, hey, look, this is not the way. You got to teach these officers how to talk to some of the citizens. They don't want that. They want basically no structure. They basically PowerPoint. The things that work, they're not going to even discuss. Half the time, they used to let the citizens come to the academy and have dialogue with the officers. They don't even do that. Most of the time, it's the same repetitive training every year. In-service training is a joke. They don't ever touch on health and wellness. They don't ever talk about working out. They don't talk about the effects of drinking coffee and sodas all day just trying to stay up. They don't talk about, hey, if your urine is darker than lemonade and you're not on any form of medication, you're dehydrated. They don't talk about it. It's a waste of time. It's just basically to kill time. So again, it's a lack of training, and it's in a dire state. I'm honestly, I'm not exaggerating. The Metropolitan Police Department, I know, man, how could you say that you was part? Well, that wasn't like that when I was there. I'm being honest. It's toward the end, things started to go downhill, but I got out of there before the George Floyd situation happened. And once that happened, it just basically went downhill. It really went downhill. And like I said, how bad is crime and gun violence in D.C.? So bad the chief of police gave it up. Now, when you are the chief of police, and obviously you're not actually out there putting in work like some of these officers and going from call to service to call to service, because there's no times out, no time out, there's no breaks. You know, you might go for a domestic violence case at GW Hospital. A woman got her whole head split open. After you take that report and get the detectives there and wrap that up, and you know they decide, well, we know who did it, they're gonna prepare a warrant or what have you. Guess what? You got another call for an apparent natural. Apparent natural, and what that is someone that's deceased, and right now they don't think it's any suspicious nature. So a lot of times you go, guess what? You got to sit on that body for couple of hours until the medical examiner comes in. They might have one medical examiner working on that shift, depending on how busy they are. If they have a lot of deaths, guess what? They put you on the list. You got to sit in there with that dead body until the medical examiner gets to you. Now, some of us, like myself, I don't know if you might want to consider me crazy. Maybe you just want to consider me seasoned. You get used to it. You know, a lot of times you sit there. Now, of course, back in the day, we would turn the TV on. We would do all types of stuff. And you're not really supposed to do that because it could be deemed a crime scene. And most times it's not a crime scene. It's somebody elderly that's been there forever. It's nothing to disturb, and they just passed in and sleep in the bed. But a lot of times we turn the TV on. Now, it would get a little more challenging if it was a stinker. And that's obviously when the body starts to decompose and things of that nature. And I'm not sure most people that are watching this video have ever smelled a dead body. But if you smelled a dead rat or a dead animal, it's like 100 times or maybe 1,000 times worse. And I'm going to tell you something about a decomposing body. It is a smell that you will never, ever, ever, ever forget. And I know it's like, you're probably like, man, this dude is a nut. No, you just become a part of the environment. You become a part of it. Just like a lot of times you have individuals in the military that are used to seeing colleagues killed or whatever, where you become adaptive to it. And a lot of times, seasoned guys that's been in the department for a while, you always keep your Vicks with you in case that, you got to be in that element for a while, because it's no, oh man, I can't take this smell, I got to go home. Doesn't work like that in law enforcement. If it was a decomposing body that's been sitting in the heat for maybe a week or two, and you getting citizens complaining about that body, living in this apartment, and as soon as you get there, one time we got in within a block, and we wasn't even in the apartment yet, you could smell it. It was just coming out of the apartment. We already knew what we had. So most of us have Vicks, the vapor rub and what have you. Put it under your nose, you can handle it a little better. Now, a lot of the senior medical examiners, they don't have none of that stuff. They used to it. So it's nothing for them. And it's an art to picking up a body, and it's a lot to that. But we get into that on another time. But again, back to the situation at hand, it's real bad. Most individuals that planned on staying additional time to increase their percentage for retirement are no longer doing that. As soon as they're eligible for retirement, a lot of the guys and girls are saying, look, I can find me another little part-time to make up ends meet. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm done. And they leave. So you got a mass retirement going on right now. They're not going to put that on the news, but you can see it in the streets. Basically, what you have is, again, a rush the door type of effect. The crimes are outweighing the police. Now, the homicides are outweighing the police. The homicide division, of course, you got detectives and things like that, but a lot of times they're overworked. As soon as they are working on one case, they might be up and they might get a fresh case. So you got to put that on hold and work on this new case. It's not what you think it is. And it's a lot of leg work. And I don't have to tell you, every homicide officer or homicide detective per se is not created equal. You got some sorry, I could say some other things, but you got some sorry, worthless detectives, and you got some very, very good, thorough, proficient detectives. Just like with police officers. You got some good police officers who know what they're doing, and you got some officers to this day, I don't know how they got out of the academy. I don't even know how some of them made the retirement. I'm not going to really call it names because I've worked with some of them. But again, things in D.C. are at a very, very tragic state, especially within the Metropolitan Police Department. And like you say, well, how bad is it? So bad the chief threw the towel in. when you got a chief of police that is raised in D.C., for the most part, within the Metropolitan Police Department, his entire career, when he throws in the towel, that lets you know. And I think he might have completed maybe 2 years. I think he came on as chief, not the department, but as chief in 2021. So obviously, he came to the conclusion it's time to go too. So when the chief obviously leaves, that's how bad it is. When your chief of police says, look, I can't do this no more. It's affecting my family life. So obviously it's not a thing where work is affecting the family life, because if it was a work thing and he's not spending time, wants to spend more time, like myself, hey, look, I'm not working. You want to consider this work, me talking on the computer, this is not work. I'm not working anywhere. But on the same note, a lot of people are not built for not doing anything per se, or they're not used to being retired. Some people just have to be doing something 24/7. I've been doing something for 29 years straight. So, like I said, it feels good not to have to get up. Feels good not to have to worry about shoveling snow or cleaning the car off if we don't really get no snow, but dealing with that, or the situation when it's storming, have to worry about that's like, oh, okay, well, it can keep storming all night. I don't have to work in. I have to worry about taking no accident reports. It feels good not to have any obligations as far as work related, but some people have to do something 24/7. They just don't know how to sit still. So that might be a situation with Chief Conti. Maybe he has to do something, but on the same note, it's kind of odd. If it's really affecting your family life, why not just take some time off versus taking that FBI job and just chill and do some stuff with your family, travel. I don't know, but everybody's different. Clearly, maybe FBI and Metropolitan Police Department are obviously two different animals, but it still work. So maybe it won't affect his life. Maybe it will, or maybe the Metropolitan Police Department got so tragic and so maybe it was just that. It was Metropolitan Police Department. Maybe it's not working. But obviously, like I said, I don't have to tell you. You can watch the news and tell you how bad the police department is as far as crime. And it's not so much the police department, but a lot of officers are not doing anything. They just, it's just a shooting in broad daylight off of South Capitol at the Shell gas station. Most of you all, if you know that area, it's a known drug strip. I don't have to sugarcoat it. All the 60, 70 officers know it's a drug strip. They sell dope, drugs out of there all day, all night. Obviously the store owners in with it, you know what I'm saying? Because you're not going to be able to sell drugs on somebody's private property unless they're getting a cut out of the money. You know how I go. But again, they done away with the jump hours. There's really no more plainclothes unit because that's politically incorrect. And it just doesn't look right with officers in plainclothes jumping out on people, which is a bunch of BS. But like I said, that's a whole nother situation. But it's going to be a long summer, y'all. I'm telling you straight up. There is no staff within the Metropolitan Police Department. Most of the guys and girls I know are getting out of there as soon as possible. And, like I said, how bad is it? So bad the chief of police threw the towel there. That's bad. That is bad. Got some more stuff coming up. I'm not going to stand here too long today, but I got some serious stuff coming. I got a lot of I guess we call it inbox, a lot of questions that some of them police related, some of them just everyday life related, all types of stuff. People would just ask questions, like for example, someone sent a comment, asked, will things change as far as the crime? Honestly, right now, I don't see it happening because there's no proactive, I'm going to answer that one right now. There's no proactive solution. There's no proactive defense. Don't get me wrong, Chief Conti talked a good game. I mean, they had some where it was one time he was on top, sitting on the scooter. They were supposed to have a scooter squad. They also had some incidents on the metro. They said the Metropolitan Police Department officers would be riding the metro for overtime. How did that work out? It was just a couple of weeks ago. Dude shot a dude in the head at 11 o'clock in the morning. So clearly, I don't know where these police officers that are supposed to be working overtime on the metro are. Supposed to be assisting Metro Transit. Now, Metropolitan Police Department, it's nothing compared to Metro Transit. Metro Transit has no staffing. I'm telling you, the times I can count on probably both my hands, the times I've seen them on the midnight shift actually riding around. So they don't have any staffing either. And the subways are basically almost like New York subways. Back in the day, DC subways were relatively safe, but now, Metro? Nah. You watch your back if you on that Metro train. I mean, they got no problem. They don't have no problem killing you on that train. They ain't worried about the cameras or none of that. Like I said, there's no consequential thinking. They don't care about consequences. Like I said, the crimes right now are outweighing the officers, and I don't have to tell you about when it comes down to U.S. Attorney's Office. Come on, man. I mean, you look at the percentage of the cases they actually prosecute. People have no fear of going to jail. They don't have no fear of going to court because, for the most part, the court is a circus, and it's almost rigged that way to let them think they're getting over and just keep them coming back, just keep them coming back. Keep that system coming so we can keep making this money off these clowns that don't realize it's legal slavery, because that's all it is. You won't get a job out here in the street, but you'll go to prison and work from 3 to 5 cents an hour. Make that make sense. But look, I'm gonna get back at y'all. I got some more stuff coming. Like I said, I got some questions and answers. And if you got some questions, I don't care if it's something weird or whatever. Put it in the comments. I will get to it because I'm gonna do a question and answer session, and I'm gonna compile a whole lot of questions. It doesn't have to be nothing that's law enforcement related. It could be like everyday life. Like somebody had put out one not so long ago. What is the how do I talk to my son about avoiding the violence and avoiding or how to react to a police? The police are really, I'm being honest with you. I mean, you got some dirty police. I'm not gonna say in sugarcoat. You got some racist, profiling type police. But in reality, right now, in most cases, you really don't have. The police are the last thing you really got to worry about. You got to worry about these youngins out here that will kill your child over a simple beef because they're jealous of what your child wears to school, jealous because maybe some females like your child, or whether it be a male or female. It's the police element. I get that, but really, you got to worry about society as a whole, not necessarily police. Because these youngins, even going to school nowadays, somebody just got killed at Roseville High School. I don't know if that was a gang-related situation up in Northwest or what, but you can't even go to school no more and think your kid is safe. So like I said, if you got some questions or you want to put in the comments, put them in there, because I'm going to pull a whole lot of them. My next video will probably be on Q&A, and like I said, you put the question in there. I'm no expert. I don't have all the answers, but if you ask me a question, I don't care how bizarre, unless it's something just really stupid, like there's really no such thing as a stupid question. Somebody might put in there, do you really think it's UFOs? Absolutely. That's something that's just my personal belief. Somebody might, man, why do you put that in? That's a stupid question. No, it's not. If you ask a question and you want to know a sincere answer, I'm gonna give you one. It might not be the answer you want to hear, but I'm gonna give it to you. So like I said, subscribe. This ain't no monetary thing. I'm not tripping. I don't have no financial issues. No, I'm not rich, but I don't have no financial issues where I got to do some stupid stuff on this computer to get likes, and I'm trying to get a whole bunch of followers. Man, I don't care nothing about that. I'm just trying to get some good information, because the majority of these individuals got thousands, millions of followers. A lot of times there's a lot of BS and nonsense. I'm not going to sit here and be talking no stupidity. I'm going to tell you some straight facts. Some of the stuff you're not going to like. Some of the stuff you may not like. Some of the stuff you may not know. But one thing about it, I'm not in it for likes and all that, man. I come from a different era where there was no social media, where you actually had to remember phone numbers, where you had to deal with a female because you had that personality, you had that gift of game back in the day. As we call it, you had that rap as a male. You know what I'm saying? Nowadays, on social media, you can pretend to be whatever you want. These youngins are buying prop money from Amazon, doing videos with prop money. Prop money is basically for video shoots and stuff like that. You can tell it's prop money if you really stare at some of these little pictures and some of this stuff. But the crazy thing is, these youngins are so far removed from reality. They take pictures with the guns, and guess what? During the court session, when you're getting convicted and you're getting ready to do some time, that's the same pictures they show the jury, or you with a picture of an AK posing with it. And all the youngins try to say, oh, that wasn't real, the gun wasn't real. Wait a minute, Slim, you say it wasn't real, but you got 5 prior gun charges, prior gun arrests. Make that make sense. Youngins don't get it. If you don't have $300 or $400 an hour for an attorney, and I've mentioned that before in videos where some of these youngins go to court and they taking pleas to crimes they didn't even commit just to get a lesser charge or a lesser sentence. If you could see the ignorance, and I'm not saying ignorance like I'm trying to knock them down, but I'm just saying ignorance that you don't know anything about the legal system. A lot of times they don't understand the legal jargon, the terminology, and a lot of times they taking pleas to stuff that down the line is going to put you away for some years. But like I said, it's all a game to them. They can't afford a real attorney most of the time. Now, you might have on some $700-800 Balenciagas or Montclair, some nice designer stuff. And don't get me wrong, I like some of the nice name brand stuff myself. But if you can't afford to play that game, you shouldn't be in that game. And when I'm talking about the game of crime, You don't have the right legal representation. You got a court-appointed attorney, and don't get me wrong, not all court-appointed attorneys are a joke, but you got a court-appointed attorney that's basically trying to get you to plea because the next guy he's going to take is getting the same amount of money for them. It's not like a real personal attorney. A real personal attorney, when you spending some paper, going to give you the real rundown. You know, they're not there to determine whether or not you committed the crime or not. They're there to try to get you off. That's their job. They're not there to pass judgment or not. But most youngins don't have the finances for a real attorney. And guess what? They end up doing some real time because you got mom and dad. Some of them, mom and dad putting up a house for a real attorney. A lot of times, the attorney they get steal some trash. You know, but we're gonna get into that. Hey, look, I'm gone. Submit some questions if you got some questions, and subscribe, share the content, and we go from there. I'm gone.